Hey everyone, my name is Kajal and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm continuing my conversation with Sarah Gomez, a mechanical engineering student at STSU and a part-time aerospace engineer at Parsons Corporation. In this video, we talk about her internship experience going from underwater robotics to space robotics. And she also gives out advice on how to get internship as a student. I'll include all of the timings and relevant resources in the description below. So without further ado, let's get into it. As you mentioned, you also got a lot of experience through internship. So tell us a little bit more about your internship experience.
Yeah, so I like you said, I done a couple. Some of the big highlights have been working at the Spaceship company, which is a company based in Mojave. And basically, what they do is that they build spaceships for Virgin Galactic. The idea is that someone can pay for a ticket and ride on the spaceship and basically go to space and do a round trip just like as you would do for an airline. So it was really cool to even contribute just a bit. My role was working on verifying some of the hardware that goes into this spaceship, as well as documenting some of the requirements that could be used for testing some of the components. So it was cool to just get to see a spaceship every day in front of me. And it was a very cool environment, just seeing the people that were passionate about the company and what we were working on. And the other one is NASA Jet Propulsion Labs internship, which was actually completed virtually during the summer last year. But it was still a very cool experience because even though it was virtual, I still got to connect with a lot of the engineers and scientists and talk to them about what the role that they do, what projects they're working on. And there was also a lot of excitement because at the time, people were getting ready for launching Perseverance, which actually just landed in Mars just a couple weeks ago. So it was really cool to just see all the preparations that were going on behind the scenes, getting ready for the launch. My role there was working on a mission concept for the excavation tools that could be used potentially for a Europa lander, which is a mission concept of a lander that would go to Europa. Europa being one of Jupiter's moons that they believe has like icy sheet thickness. They believe there's an ocean underneath it. So there's a lot of interest because whenever there's water, there's potential signs of life. So if that mission is realized, it'll be cool to see one of my tool concepts actually be used for the mission.
Wow, that is so interesting. Both of those experiences that you just described. And yeah, it'd be so cool to hear about this spaceship that lands on Jupiter and what all it does, as well as knowing more about Perseverance as it roams around Mars. All of this experience has been in aerospace versus all of your experience in school at STSU has been with robotics. So, what are your thoughts on mechanical engineering in aerospace versus robotics?
Yeah, so one thing I like to add before I answer your question is it's been interesting because, like you said, a lot of it has been with not just robotics, but underwater robotics, and space is kind of like the opposite of that, you know?
Yeah.
um, but what's interesting is there's similarities in the work that I had done with mechatronics, which is the team that I described, and working with things that go to space because they're both challenging environments and just the constraints that are there. For example, I have the waterproof components. Well, in space, you gotta also shield against radiation and other hazards that are in place. It is interesting to have different problems, but still have a lot of similar challenges. I don't think of it as a versus. I think a lot of the mechanical engineering applications that are in robotics and in aerospace are similar. Even when you look at from the automation perspective, Perseverance was able to land on Mars just by looking and trying to find the perfect landing spot. It did that without human input, which is crazy to me that it was able to figure out the optimal landing spot and actually land successfully.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, automation exists in the aerospace world, and of course, Perseverance being a rover, it totally applies as a robot, and all of its mechanisms. Similarly, the mechanical engineering part of it, when you look at how it moves, the arms that it uses, those are all robotics. In other aerospace applications, if you look at the International Space Station, it has a robotic arm that it uses to catch components and even release payloads. And then from another mechanical engineering perspective, even looking at satellites, they have deployable mechanisms. And look at the mechanical designs, you look at all the hardware that's used for it, the bearings, the motors, those are all similar to what you would see in a robot when you look at it, if it has a robotic arm or anything that moves really. So there's a lot of similarities, and it's really interesting to see that.
Wow, that sounds so amazing. And like you said, even though robotics and aerospace might seem different, but given your experience, it's both extreme conditions. One is underwater and one is in space. And both of these are situations that you won't encounter in normal days.
Yeah.
So, with that, now you've had a lot of internship experience. So, a very popular question that you might probably be getting is how to get an internship. And based on all of these experience, what advice or tips would you give to students who are looking for internship?
Yeah, I think there's a couple main ways that I've seen for students getting internships. One of them is just applying blindly, which is kind of the method that I use, which means just really finding out, researching opportunities that you think are cool, looking through LinkedIn what internship students are getting just to realize what opportunities are out there, using the career services at your school to see what opportunities really are students getting. And even though it's the way that I did it, and that's how I got my first internship, I applied to hundreds of internships. I'm talking more than 100, really. That's not the smartest way. The smartest way is to get it out to a person that can actually put eyes on your resume. That has been, I think, the most successful way that I've seen other students get it. So networking, which is whether through LinkedIn, messaging managers or engineers of departments that you're interested in, asking them what role they play into, what projects are available, or if they have internships. That can already get you a connection that can help get your resume to actually get seen by eyes instead of being put in this pool with a bunch of other applicants. Another way that I've seen is through career fairs. And I'm not just talking about the regular school career fairs, even though those are important too. I'm talking about career fairs put on together by other organizations. Society of Women Engineers has this national convention that has a giant career fair held annually, and that already puts you in a more competitive spot than just applying online. And it's not just Society of Women Engineers. There's a bunch of other organizations that also have this annual big career fair, and it's really just for students or focused towards students and young professionals. So I highly recommend just checking out those opportunities. And you don't even have to be a member of those organizations to go to those career fairs. Even now, during COVID, they have virtual career fairs going on, and I heard of students being very successful. So I really think those are the main ways that students are successful for getting internships.
Yeah, like you said, you could definitely go and apply to hundreds of companies, but it is way more effective if you try to get it to someone who will see it. And that includes career fairs because you actually get an opportunity to talk to someone, even if it's just for 2-3 minutes, which is much better than applying to an online portal and hoping that it gets through the application tracking system.
Yes, for sure.
Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I'm sure students will listen to your story and get inspired.